here with Fletch Newland of Sound Team Realty. One of my absolute favorite realtors to work with. Just the way he protects his clients and really puts them first. I love to work with you guys. I have a question for you that I get pretty commonly, but really it's your expertise, is what are we going to offer on this home, or what's the value of this home? And I know it can be different based on how competitive a home is going to be, but I wanted to get your perspective on that.
It's a really, really good, important, and not simple answer to your question. The way we go, the process that we go through typically when we're working with a buyer who finds a place that they're interested in, kind of next steps. Once they get past the point of just general interest, because we'll seek out all the information we can for them to help them get a feel for, if it fits what they're looking for. But once they decide that, yeah, I think this is a place that's of real interest, then usually the very first thing that I do is go through my own valuation process. Lots of people keep track of, your Zillow's estimates or your Redfin estimates or what have you. And my general feeling is do not bank on those by any stretch of the imagination. They each did and nearly got themselves, or did get themselves each into huge trouble. But they're great for just a consistent data point. So if you're just kind of getting an idea of what my value is worth, what my money will get me, they're great for that, for consistency. But we don't look at that kind of thing at all. Once we've toured the house together and we know what we're looking at, not just beds and baths, but the neighborhood and how loud it is if there's a big busy road around or what have you, things that really help people decide whether or not they want to live there and how much they're willing to spend. Mm-hmm. So then we'll go back onto the MLS and look at the best comps we can find, comparable properties that are as similar as possible, sold as recently as possible, in as tight an area as possible. Okay. Depending on what the market's like, that can be fairly easy, and it can also just be a nightmare and take more art than I would prefer rather than science. And it's a fairly broad, deep report, and we also will, here are the houses we were looking at, a link to them. Choose it by yourself if you agree with me or don't agree, but we'll give you all the thinking that goes behind what we think the value is. And then it kind of breaks down into a few different things. Here is what I think the house is worth, and that can be all we need in a slower market. Mm-hmm. If it's a busy, competitive market, fine, but that doesn't necessarily matter much. Second thing is, here's what I think we could get it for. Mm-hmm. And that's after I've spoken with the listing broker and get an idea of what the traffic is like, et cetera, et cetera. And then sometimes a third number that becomes a big player is what we think it will appraise for. Yeah. And then when those numbers all vary, then there's a lot that goes into all that as well. But provide all that information, see if it jives along with what the buyer is looking to spend, get with the lender, kind of work all that together and see if it makes sense.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you're in a competitive market, we might look at the comps and say, okay, it's worth this, but it's not necessarily going to sell for that. And then again, what is it going to appraise for? There can be a little bit of a gap there. Mm-hmm. So it's great that you look at all three of those aspects. Well, really appreciate you coming in and explaining that. And thank you so much for
absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, Fletch Newland, Sound Team Realty. All of his contact information is below.